Meeting of Cheltenham Borough Council. So I'd firstly like to welcome everybody. The meeting is being live streamed on the Council's YouTube channel, so welcome to any of the members of the public who are watching the meeting remotely. The recording of the meeting will remain online for 4 years, and if you are present and making a representation to the meeting, then you are consenting to this and to the use of recordings for broadcasting and training purposes. Have we got members of the public? Okay. I should also just mention to members that we now have CCTV and audio recording now in operation, and the footage and recordings will be held by the Council for 5 months. Please also note that a fire alarm test is not expected, so if the alarm does sound, you should make your way to the nearest fire exit immediately. And may I finally remind members that the speaking limit is 3 minutes in debate, and also politely remind you to speak clearly and into the microphone. Okay, so item 1 on our agenda is apologies. So I have apologies received from Councillors Beale, Britta, Fifield, Holiday, Jeffries, Lewis and Oliver. Are there any other apologies? I'm not seeing anyone indicating. In that case, I'd also just at this point like to welcome Councillor Stan Smith, representing Prestbury with the People Against Bureaucracy group. So welcome, Stan, to this council meeting, and welcome to the council. Item 2 on our agenda is declarations of interest. If anyone has any interests they would like to declare at this point, please indicate. And if not, if anything does come up during the meeting, then please obviously indicate at the appropriate time. Item 3 then, minutes of the last meeting. So this is the meeting held on the 24th of July, and we will cover the minutes of the extraordinary meeting at the next council meeting. So the 24th of July minutes. Any comments or anything anyone would like to raise there? And if not, can we use the electronic voting system then to approve or otherwise the minutes? Okay, thank you, members. That is carried. Okay, moving on to item 4 then. Sorry, Councillor Clucas, you have your microphone on. Sorry, thank you. So item 4, communications by the Mayor. Other than obviously to welcome Councillor Smith to the council, I did just want to make a short statement. We're obviously all aware of the horrific attacks on Israeli citizens and others 10 days ago, and the ensuring tragedy that's still unfolding in Gaza. So I trust I speak for all members of this council and for the people of Cheltenham when I express our grief at the loss of all innocent life, our deep sympathy with all those who may have family members or friends killed or are missing, and our real hope for peace in the region. I would therefore ask all those who are able to stand for a short moment of reflection. Sorry, thank you, members. I would like to now move on to item 5, which is communications by the Leader of the Council.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd also like to welcome Councillor Smith to the Chamber. So there's a few bits and pieces I just wanted to tell members about. So as you all know, we've got a really ambitious carbon reduction programme in terms of the climate change, and I'm pleased to say that our carbon emissions at CBC now show a 15% decrease on last year. There will be more statistics to come out at our full council in December. I'm also pleased that the Appointments and Remuneration Panel have appointed an interim head of climate to ensure that we continue to drive our ambitious agenda, as it is one of the top priorities for this administration. We've increased the fines for litter and fly tipping and graffiti to send a clear message that this kind of unpleasant antisocial behaviour and often illegal activity isn't welcome in Cheltenham. And the reason that we can do that is that it has been allowed under a recent change in regulations, and we are increasing on-the-spot fixed penalties to the maximum allowable in each case. I'm also pleased to report that the number of families now using the Feed Cheltenham leisure passes have gone up to around 60 people, and I know from my own ward how excited people have been able to access these. I mean, in particular in my ward, it's the swimming that people have really gone for. I'm also pleased to announce that Montpellier Garden Toilets, and we've talked about this for quite a long time, so the final design has now been signed off as compliant with the requirements for a changing places toilet. So the procurement for a construction contractor is due to go live in the next couple of weeks, and a decision will be brought back to Cabinet and full council if that's required. So the 2021-22 Statement of Accounts has, the final draft of the Statement of Accounts was presented to the Audit and Compliance and Governance Committee, and it's expected that an unqualified audit opinion will be issued by Grant Thornton, which means the team can then start moving on to the audit of 22-23 in the new year. We are starting the preparations for setting the budget for 24-25, and our settlement from central government will be based on the autumn statement, which this year isn't coming until the end of November. As a result, our finance team will need to make a number of assumptions on funding levels in order that draft budget proposals can be taken to Cabinet in December in advance of the consultation period. Year on year, this government leaves local authorities having to make assumptions. No private sector business could operate in this manner, and it's time that they actually gave local authorities certainty, or otherwise much, much earlier. Tomorrow, the Cabinet will consider a report with the recommendation that Cheltenham Borough Homes is wound up and returns back to the Council. For 20 years, Cheltenham's housing stock has been managed by an arm's-length management organisation, Cheltenham Borough Homes. ALMOs were originally set up by many local authorities, as this allowed for greater access to central government funding to meet the Decent Homes standard. The Decent Homes programme was an initiative launched by the last Labour government and set targets for bringing all public sector housing up to a set social housing decency standard by 2010. In 2016, the government funding for bringing social homes up to that standard came to an end, and CBC has successfully worked in partnership with Cheltenham Borough Homes for 2 decades and has delivered investment in existing stock, new housing, a financially resilient housing revenue account, and most importantly, high tenant and leaseholder satisfaction. The partnership has had to evolve and change to respond to the challenges we face, not least the recent COVID-19 pandemic, which demanded both CBC and CBH work together to protect and care for the communities we serve. While we recognise and celebrate CBH's role in Cheltenham since 2003 with the changing needs of our residents, new financial challenges and an updated regulatory framework, now is the time to review CBH's future to ensure that the Council can deliver a housing service which is in full alignment with the Council's strategic priorities and ensures that this Council are in the strongest possible position to deliver for Cheltenham's communities. We are on the start of a journey tomorrow, if Cabinet approves this, but along this journey, the most important people in all of this are actually our tenants. And one of the things that's in that report is very much about strengthening the tenant participation in the improvement board. So that's going to be really important moving forward, and that together with our own scrutiny role that they will play in this. The last thing, Mayor, I want to mention is the Western Gateway. The Western Gateway, for those that don't know, is the West Country's equivalent to the Northern Powerhouse. I sit on that as the district representative for all of the districts in Gloucestershire. But it was a real pleasure to welcome a delegation from the Western Gateway Partnership to Cheltenham on the 5th of October. I think there were 7 of them. The Western Gateways identified cyber as a real strength right across the region, and they are looking at ways in which they can promote and amplify what is happening to create further jobs and growth. As we all know, Cheltenham is the home of GCHQ and is a critical part of our national cyber tech cluster. As such, we will continue to have a central role in driving further growth that will extend far beyond the boundaries of our borough. On their visit, the team was shown around the MX, the Golden Valley, and they met with key stakeholders from Hub 8, Plexel and NCSC. Subsequently, I've had a message from the director of Western Gateway to say how impressed they were with the scale of our ambition, and they have pledged their ongoing support to maximise the impact of what we are delivering here in Cheltenham. And the very final thing, Mayor, is that this week is the recycling week. We've all seen that on the press release today, so hopefully everybody will share that and encourage people to go on that recycling hunt. Thank you.
Sorry, thank you, Councillor Hay. Item 6 then is to receive petitions. I'm not aware there are any if nobody indicates. Item 7 then is public questions. Again, I'm not aware we have any. Number 8 then is member questions, of which we have 8. Question 1 is Councillor Seacombe. As per usual, we'll take the original question and answer as read, unless people have a very strong desire to read them out. So yeah, Councillor Seacombe, do you have a supplementary question too?
Yes, thank you. I take it at the end of the ice rink period, particularly, we can have some statistics which the leader mentioned earlier. They obviously won't be ready by December, but in subsequent months, can we have the statistics for the improved form of fuelling? Is that possible?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Question 2 then is Councillor Joy. Councillor Joy. Do you have a supplementary?
No, I don't have supplementary questions for any of the ones that I asked. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Joy. In that case, I'll move to question 5, which is Councillor Took. Did you have a supplementary?
Yes, I do. So I'd like to congratulate the Lib Dem administration on maintaining services despite swinging Tory cuts. I know that our Green colleagues have been nervous about commercial risk. I've got a question about that. They were so nervous about commercial risk, they sat on their hands and abstained on the Golden Valley vote. So my question is to the leader, do you think you could have achieved what you've achieved in terms of maintaining services if you hadn't taken commercial risk?
Sorry, Councillor Took, can you just turn off your microphone? So the original question was to Councillor Jeffreys. In his absence, Councillor Hay, I believe you're...
I believe I am, Mayor. Thank you. Can I thank Councillor Took for his supplementary? And in the absence of Councillor Jeffreys, I will respond. And as it happens, in 2016, I was the then Cabinet Member for Finance and Assets, and I brought to this council a commercial investment strategy. Government funding was disappearing year on year, and we needed to change tack and become a commercial council. That was, a commercial council that was risk aware, but not risk averse. And that we needed to do that if we were to continue so that we didn't have to cut services. To that end, we were very successful in as much as before the pandemic, we were on course to become self-sufficient from government funding. And I firmly believe that had we not gone on this journey, then my answer to you now would have been a resounding no. I do not believe that without this, we would still be delivering the same level of non-statutory services as we currently are. In fact, somebody can go and Google it, but if you go back in time, Grant Thornton, who are, as everybody knows, sort of very well-known auditors, in one of their publications, they mentioned Cheltenham in their Income Spectrum series. It's worth having a look at because it was very positive about when we first started our investment journey in terms of buying Delta Place. Interestingly as well, what the figures in terms of what that income on the commercial journey has been since then is that our income streams since 2015 have increased our commercial income by 4.2 million over that period, which equates to a real increase of almost 2.5 million once inflation has been applied. To put that in context, that's almost as much as our business rates baseline, which is the threshold of 2.8 million.
Okay, so we're now on to question 6. Councillor Harman, did you have a supplementary?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can I thank the Cabinet Member for his detailed reply, which is helpful. Would you agree with me, though, that whatever we've done so far, we need to do more to combat litter, graffiti, etc.?
If the Council will permit, I'm going to answer on Councillor Dobie's behalf, because this actually falls within my portfolio in customer regulatory services. We can always do more. I think the decision we've just taken to increase the fine for fly tipping from £400 to £1,000, the fine for graffiti from £150 to £500, and the maximum for litter to the maximum allowed as well, just shows that we are very serious about this. When earlier this year we adopted a new graffiti policy which actually said how important it was that we tackled offensive and harmful, really harmful graffiti in double quick time. So we are very committed to tackling environmental crime where this happens. I think Councillor Harman's original question referred to the very large number of fines being issued in Gloucester for litter. And Gloucester have taken an interesting approach. They have paid a subcontractor to issue the fines on their behalf and have ended up issuing more fines than all the other councils in Gloucestershire put together. And you can technically take anyone who drops something larger than a 5p piece, and technically that is an offence under the legislation, and you can issue an on-the-spot fine. And paying a private company to pursue people around Cheltenham for dropping things as small as shopping receipts, I don't think is personally the way I would like to go. Our officers have a very flexible model based on the neighbourhood team, which is first of all about education and encouragement to keep the streets clean and free of litter, graffiti, fly tipping and the rest. Then to warn people, and if they see an offence being committed, to warn them that a fixed penalty notice is possible, and only then, if they are persistently refusing, or if they're obviously repeat offenders, or if there is a problem spot that's been identified, that is when the fixed penalty notices come in. And we do actually have a rather higher level of fixed penalty notices being issued, as the answer shows, compared to the Gloucestershire Live figures. So I think we do take this absolutely seriously, and I'm sure we're all agreed that we want to see less litter, less graffiti, less fly tipping in Cheltenham.
Okay, question 7 then is Councillor Nelson. Did you have a follow-up?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I do. Thank you to the leader very much for your very comprehensive response to the question that I put. It was more detailed than I hoped. But I do have a supplementary. You speak about the council promoting CBC as a great place to work. So with this in mind, does the council measure the state of morale of their staff? And if so, is it at the moment, do you think it's good, or could it be better? Thank you.
I couldn't tell Councillor Nelson exactly where it is today, but what I can tell you is that we do those measures of staff satisfaction and staff morale. And I will get back to you because I'm sure I can give you some information, but we do publish those as well. So whether they've been where we are, where the next one is due, I don't know. But I will get back to you. But we certainly do measure.
Okay, and question 8 is Councillor Nelson again.
A supplementary, thank you.
Okay, thank you, councillors. Item 9 then, we move on to, which is the interim review of polling districts, places and stations. So this is to invite Paul Jones, sorry Paul, you're that side, as the electoral registration officer to introduce the report.
Thank you, Mayor. So, as members will know, and as set out in the executive summary, the Local Government Boundary Commission for England has completed its review of the electoral arrangements for Cheltenham Borough Council, and the order was made on the 18th of July 2023. The changes will be effective on 2nd of May 2024. The Council has a statutory duty to review its polling districts, polling places and polling stations to ensure that all electors have reasonable facilities for voting as are practicable, and to ensure that the polling stations are accessible to all electors. A consultation exercise has been completed and consideration has been given to the views put forward in forming the recommendations that are put forward for your approval today. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank everybody who put forward some views, including some members present today. I would also like to thank Kim and her team for specifically finding an alternative polling station for Battledown Ward, which caused some angst amongst parents who raised concerns over the closure of Holy Apostles School for the recent by-election held earlier this year. Kim and I are happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Okay, do we have any councillors indicating questions? Councillor Harman.
Just a fairly happy generally. Just with regard to both Park and Lansdowne, which is my ward and as things stand, you say where there is a county council by-election, that the polling place instead of Bethesda would be the Portakabin Town Hall. I think instead of St Gregory's would be at Salem. I think there probably is a reason for it. And if you were to have a situation, which I suppose is theoretically possible, that you had a county by-election broadly coinciding with a normal district election, so you had the same on the same day, which in a different way we did last time round, presumably they'd still be in one location.
Yeah, that's correct. The only reason for the by-election is because at the moment it's a totally different electoral division to where the new polling station is. So therefore, in the event of a by-election, they would have to, which hopefully would only be in the one electoral division anyway, then they would go and vote at the current polling station where they vote now. We've got county boundary changes ready for next year, so that's when we're hoping we can, everything will be matched up so that people aren't going to different polling stations for the county, because the county division that they're in will change.
Okay, are there any other councillors wanting to? Councillor Chidley.
Yeah, I'd just like to thank the Electoral Services Manager for the review in Battledown and moving it to the Portakabin, or proposed Portakabin at Cheltenham Cricket Club. I think that's probably the best solution to keep Holy Apostles up and running and preventing kids from missing school. I'm just taking this opportunity to ask a question here for my constituents. I'm sure there'll be a lot who maybe are elderly or will find it difficult to get up the hill. Also, there might be concerns about parking as well at the club. So this might be unprecedented, and I'm not quite sure, but I'm just taking the opportunity to ask a question. Would we ever consider running a service to help people go to vote, or is that not possible?
I think the short answer is no. I mean, I guess if I was to put a challenge back, Cheltenham's quite unique in terms of the number of polling stations that it has in terms of proximity to voters. Clearly, if you live in some of our rural counterparts within the county, people have to travel up very large hills and actually have to travel quite some distance to get to their polling station. And so what we've tried to do here is find a polling station that is amenable to as many of the electorate as possible, taking it on board some of the issues that you've said. Clearly at the Victoria Ground there is car parking there. It's a proposed porter cabin at the moment, but I understand that the cricket club are looking to make the club itself more disability access friendly, so hopefully in the not too distant future it won't be in a porter cabin, it would actually be in the clubhouse itself.
Okay, do we have any other questions from any members? No? In that case, we'll move to debate. Do we have anyone wishing to make any statements on these proposals? Councillor Flynn.
Thank you. I just have a quick one. Quite a few of the polling stations are a little outside the boundary of the ward, but the new CD polling district it's like a huge distance away. That's the district, and the polling station is like way away. So, I mean, those people have been voting there anyway, but it just, you know, in order of people recognising the area that they live in and in relation to the ward that they live in, it just seems a bit bizarre, really. When we debated the ward boundary changes, I requested that the leader agree to continue the boundary working group. I'd like to repeat that request. Having a ward split by a dual carriageway, for example, as in Ben Hall, is one example of why it needs revisiting. Ward boundary changes should come from us. We shouldn't wait for the local boundary commission, who don't know the area, to make piecemeal changes that are number-based, not community-based. As I understand it, come May, we will have a small part of Hester's Way ward that will actually end up in Tewkesbury constituency, the new polling district GC. I mean, that seems ludicrous, if I've understood that correctly. So I'd just like to ask the leader, please can we keep the boundary changes working group to address this and draw up something for the future that actually is representative of the communities and works well. Thank you.
Okay, I don't see any other members indicate. Oh, sorry, Councillor Willingham.
I just want to very briefly thank all of the team that have delivered this work. I'm sure members across the chamber will recognise just the amount of hard work it's taken by our officers to get all of these maps, do the consultation and produce all of this. And I think it's just timely to thank them for that, the work that they've done, and put that on record. And I'm sure I speak for everybody in doing that. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, if there are no other indications to speak, I'll hand back to Paul Jones. Councillor Hay, if you want to come back, absolutely.
I just thought I'd try and answer Councillor Flynn's request. I think I'm a little struggling a little bit in as much as the map that she talks about is the voting place is in the same place that they already vote. So it's not that far away. In terms of the Boundary Commission, we can ask the Boundary Commission to look, but they don't normally have a look quite as soon as they've in say next year or year after. They're unlikely to grant us that wish. And I'm not sure that with everything else that's going on, in all honesty, that changing it to do a working group to ask the Boundary Commission to come back and relook at us next year is the most sensible way forward, because I suspect, and I can stand to be corrected by the electoral officer, that I suspect they wouldn't come back in the next 18 months, 2 years. It's normally 5 years that they will look at coming back to readjust. We can ask for it, but they can refuse it.
Okay, so no other indications to speak, so I'll hand to Councillor Paul, to Paul Jones. No, in that case, I was about to say that's a promotion. I'm not sure it is. But, in that case, should we move to the vote? Okay, thank you, councillors. That is passed unanimously. So now, moving on to item 10, the appointment of the Chair of Overview and Scrutiny Committee. And for this one, I'll invite Gareth Edmondson, the Chief Executive, to introduce the item.
I think I've got a very short introduction to this, which is merely to call for nominations for Chair of Overview and Scrutiny Committee. Councillor Harman.
Thank you, Mr Mayor and Chief Executive. It says Steve Harvey on here. Ah, fine. I'm not Steve Harvey, just in case. No, in accordance with the arrangement that the chairman comes from a group other than the majority group, we would like to propose Councillor Tabby Joy, who I understand is prepared to take on this role for the remainder of this council term. I think Councillor Seacon will second. Thank you.
If you want a formal seconding, that's what I'm here to do, and I formally second that motion.
Okay, sorry. So we have a nomination and a second. Was there? Sorry, Councillor Harvey, did you want to come in here?
I was actually, for Collegiate Regions, going to second it myself, but I'm happy for Councillor Seacombe to have done it. Councillor Harman's absolutely right. This council has a member of the opposition parties who's the chair of ONS. I'm delighted that Councillor Joy is coming up for the role. So if I can't second it, I'll third it.
Okay. Oh.
Are there any other nominations?
Then she can be appointed without a show of hands if they're happy.
Well, are we comfortable, therefore, to appoint Councillor Joy?
There you go then. Duly appointed. You want to do a show of hands? Okay.
Show of hands.
I think that's unanimous.
Unanimous.
Unanimous. Unanimous.
Okay, thank you, members. That is unanimous. Congratulations, Councillor Joy. Item 11, then, notices of motion. We have no motions received. Item 12, any other item the Mayor determines as urgent. There are none at this point. And therefore, we'll move on to item 13. So this is to call the meeting into exempt session. So bear with me whilst I just read out this statement, and then we'll just need to clear the chamber. So that in accordance with section, I should say, that Council is recommended to approve the following resolution, that in accordance with section 100A(4), Local Government Act 1972, the public be excluded from the meeting for the remaining agenda items, as it is likely that, in view of the nature of the business to be transacted or the nature of the proceedings, if members of the public are present, there will be disclosed to them exempt information as defined in paragraphs 3 and 5, Part 1, Schedule 12A of the Local Government Act 1972. namely paragraph 3, information relating to the financial or business affairs of any particular person, including the authority holding that information, and paragraph 5, information in respect of which a claim to legal professional privilege could be maintained in legal proceedings. So can we have a show of hands for everyone in favour of that? I believe that is unanimous. So if we just bear with us for one moment whilst we switch off